So I will be talking about sex differences from a developmental perspective, and I will be focusing on antisocial behaviors and more specifically on physical aggression, although I will talk about other types of antisocial behaviors as well. I will discuss possible etiologies for the sex differences in antisocial behaviors, and I will briefly touch on the intergenerational transmission of aggression. What's interesting when studying sex differences from a developmental perspective is that one can see that the sex differences, the magnitude of the difference between males and females vary quite a lot during the different developmental periods, which provides an interesting window into possible etiologies. And it complexifies even more, as some have suggested this morning, our understanding of sexual differences. This is a picture by Norman Rockwell, who was drawing pictures every week for the Saturday Evening Post in the 1950s and 60s. And he was depicting scenes of daily life, and here you have the Sunday morning scene with the righteous woman who has dressed up and dressed her children, and everybody is ready to go to church with their Bibles, les missiles. And we have the father who is trying to hide behind his chair very subtly, smoking a cigarette, reading the newspaper, and as we can see on the floor, he has already read all the cartoons section of the newspaper. And so I present this picture because it depicts what a lot of people have. It's somewhat of a caricature, but to an extreme, it depicts the idea that women are the social bond to a society, and that they comprise this core and stable group that organize society. People, children, and men revolve around them, but they are supposed to be the solid, stable guiding line. And I would like to cite Sarah Hardy, who's an ethologist, anthropologist, and she has written a lot. She's a feminist also, and she has written a lot on the sex differences among primates and humans. And she says, in fact, the first evolutionary step towards social life for any mammal is thought to have taken place when females began to develop mutual tolerance and cooperate with each other. Of course, that does not mean that women do not compete with each other, and that does not mean that they do not use aggression. But it means that they will have different strategies for doing so. Some that may be very obvious, others that may be more subtle, and that's what I would like to talk about today, with the data showing the different strategies or the different expression of aggression over the life course. I will use the word sex more than gender because that's what we measure, and Dr. Johnson has done a great job at defining those, so I will not repeat it. For some antisocial behaviors, there is a huge gap in the extent to which men and women commit these acts. I would like to give a few examples here. Homicides are very rare, the killing of another human being in the case of humans. The prevalence is 3 in 100,000 in Western industrialized societies, and the part in blue represents the proportion of male, and the part in red represents the proportion of females that commit homicides. So it's 80% male who commit homicide. For sexual crime, which are more frequent, 160 per 100,000, overwhelmingly males commit these types of crime, and only 1% of females are found guilty of sexual crimes, found guilty, of course, but it's very rare among females. Now, can you think of a serious violent crime that is mainly committed by women? It's a rare phenomenon. Infanticide. So infanticide, 0.075 per 100,000, extremely rare phenomena, but extremely almost non-existent among males. And of course, infanticides have different motives than other homicides, in the sense that they are often, according to what is documented, committed for the sake of the greater good of the group, of the tribe. But of course, that doesn't prevent the fact that they are a great act of despair. Size of the sex difference. So what I did is I tried to summarize the size of the magnitude of the sex differences across different data sets for physical aggression and indirect aggression, which I will define a little bit later on, over time. And what I did is calculated D, so effect sizes, Cohen's D. D says something about the distance between two groups. So we have the mean of men and the mean of female in terms of physical aggression, let's say. One mean minus the other mean divided by the pool standard deviation of the two, and you have an effect size. An effect size of 0 indicates no difference between males and females. A positive effect size means males are more aggressive in all the figures that I will show you subsequently, and a negative effect size indicates that females are more aggressive. An effect size of 0.2 is considered small, 0.5 medium, and 1 large. So we start with physical aggression over age. Physical aggression defined as hitting, kicking, fighting with other people. As you can see, over the course of the development, the magnitude of the difference increased with age. That's not the mean level of physical aggression. I will talk about that later. It's the size of the difference between males and female. So that in toddlerhood and in preschool, boys and girls hit each other, fight with each other quite often. They're almost equal, although males do it more already. But the peak is in adolescence and young adulthood, when males are much more frequently than females using physical aggression, and it also corresponds to, from an evolutionary point of view, to the period where males have to compete with other males for their partners. And so this, there is probably this evolutionary basis to explain this huge sex difference. It becomes reduced with age, and we don't have data on older adults, the sex difference among older adults, but we can postulate that it becomes even more similar between men and females, males and females. Now for indirect aggression. Indirect aggression or social aggression or relational aggression. I use indirect aggression to recognize the work of the pioneers in this area. Flashback. And so this type of aggression is done behind other people's back. It's a circuitous type of aggression. It involves breaking confidence, spreading false rumors, destroying others' reputation, which may be, of course, very hurtful, but do not usually result in physical fight or physical danger for the person who commits the act. In the preschool years, in the toddler years, there is very few data, but the data that is there suggests that boys and girls do not differ much. But look at adolescents, it's huge. So female adolescents tend to use indirect social aggression a lot more than males. And the difference is reduced in adulthood. Again, we do not have a lot of data later on adulthood, but that's a study that would be fascinating to do. The extent to which males and females use indirect social aggression in everyday life, in organization, in work, in universities, for instance, would be very interesting. Now, one thing that complicates the picture is that the magnitude of the sex difference varies considerably according to whether we consider same-sex aggression or opposite sex aggression. Here we have opposite sex aggression. As you see, before age, before age 8, we have no data. But the difference between males and females increase with age. So when a boy, when a girl, and it indicates that girls do it more. Okay, males do it more, females do it more. So for same-sex aggression, males tend to hit males more than females tend to hit females. That's what it says. And there's not much difference over the course of the development. But for opposite sex, it says that females hit males more than the reverse. And that this difference increases over the course of development. And there's quite a huge gap in adolescence. And other data suggest that it becomes even wider, and I will come back to that in a moment.